They say that dog is man's best friend, and in this movie, it really shows that dog is man's best friend. Let's talk about Good Boy. Good Boy is an independent horror film made by Shudder and IFC that stars Indy, who's the puppy, and Todd, who is his owner. Now, there's not much of an unpredictable story that goes into this, but you will wonder about what is going on with the premise of the thing that's haunting these two. At the beginning of this film, we find out that Todd is very sick and he's trying to find a way to get treatment. And we're getting this film through the perspective of his dog, Indy. And almost immediately, you can tell that there's something special about Indy as he can see this lurking presence and this shadowy figure that's haunting over Todd's life. And Todd doesn't see it. He's pretty much oblivious to it most of the movie until about the last 10 minutes. And most of the movie is led on through Indy's eyes and the perspective of what he can see and what's going on around him. And for me, I think that is a hella unique perception for a movie that really hasn't been done in the way that this is shot and the way that this story is told. Do I wish there was more of a story involved? Yes. I will not 100% knock it for that, though, because of the originality that goes into this indie film. One of my favorite things about this movie is the angles and perspective of which they shoot it and make the scenery and everything around it look either haunting, beautiful, cinematic, atmospheric. Every shot from the beginning to the end of this film, beautifully shot, beautifully crafted. But yeah, back to the story. So as Todd finds out he's getting sick, he pretty much gives up his job, his apartment, and moves out to the middle of the woods where his grandfather used to live on their family estate, where everybody miraculously dies at a young age. And he starts watching these old school video VHS tapes where his grandfather has pretty much scripted a lot of what happened to him toward the end of his life, and stating that he was sick as well, and that, you know, everybody dies on the family property and they all die around a certain age, and that's the kind of premise that we get starting out in this movie. And then on the flip side of that, we get that perspective through Indy's eyes where he starts to see this lurking, shadowy figure that kind of possesses over Todd every single chance that it gets. And it can only be seen through Indy's eyes. So Indy's seeing this figure lurking slowly toward Todd, or standing in the shadows, or off somewhere in the woods, or in a picture frame, or on the TV screen. There's a lot of different angles of which is shot that just keeps you wanting to guess where these things are and on the screen, and where this entity is coming from, and what it's doing in this house. There's only two other characters involved in this movie, which is really neat because, you know, for a film that's gotten so big, it doesn't have a big cast at all. But the other two characters that are involved are basically his grandfather's neighbor, who still lives somewhere in the woods, that tells him, like, you need to be careful out here. I've got fox traps set, and tells him to watch for his dog, and just, you know, why would you want to live in that house? What happened to your grandfather and all that? And then we have Todd's sister, who is named Vera, and she doesn't actually show up until the very end of this film. But essentially, she's just calling Todd to check in and try and see what's going on with him, how he's doing, if he's made any progress, and why he's even back at their grandfather's house to begin with. Now, for me, the meaning behind this film, now I haven't researched it, but the meaning behind this film for me, and I just watched it this morning, is that the entity that is following Todd around is this looming sickness that has haunted his family for years and years and years. And we come to find out that it might be cancer or some type of brain tumor or something messing with him. And it might be hereditary that runs genetically through his family, and they all pass away on this estate of which his grandfather lived on. And I know there's an old folk tale that, you know, states that animals can sense sickness, dogs especially, they can sense sickness in people and start realizing that they're sick or that they're going to pass away. So they kind of cuddle up with them more, or they try to prevent something from happening to that person, or they try to show sign that they know that something's going on. And I feel like that's exactly what the meaning behind this movie is that Todd kind of went home to his family's estate because he knew that he had cancer and he was going to pass away, and that Indy could see it throughout the film. For the hour and a half it was running, he could see this looming sickness in Todd, and was trying to prevent something from happening to him and trying to save him and be there for him, cuddle up with him, and Todd just kind of hits his point where he doesn't want to deal with it anymore. He tries to go get treatment. Doctors tell him no, so then he's too far into the cycle for it. So he just kind of accepts the fact that he's going to die, tries to push Indy away. That way Indy doesn't have to be away from it and has to be sheltered from it. And then essentially at the end, he passes away. And then whenever Indy can see it, he goes up to the bedroom of where Todd is, and he basically goes into his bedroom and tries to lay down beside him. And Todd then realizes there's this shadowy figure that's looming behind him, that's creeping toward him, that's ever just slowly getting closer to him. And it finally is able to make contact with him and grabs a hold of him and starts to pull him down into the basement of his grandfather's estate. And that's the only thing I haven't come to understand about this film so far from watching it, is the cavern that's located underneath his grandfather's estate. I think it might be a meaning of like the underworld or the unknown or maybe heaven. I don't know. But I think that's kind of what they're hinting at. And yes, even then, Indy tries to chase after Todd and tries to save him just like his grandfather's dog did, which I haven't even talked about yet. But Todd's grandfather had a dog and would do the same exact things in this house. Same exact kind of movements, running down to the basement. But Indy does the same thing in trying to protect Todd's soul from, I guess, accepting defeat and going into the cavern. And he tries to drag him back out, and Todd tells him after he spits up blood one more time and that the dark entity attacks him one more time. He says, I can't do this anymore. I have to let go. You have to stay here. There's nothing you can do for me, and I love you, buddy. And he gets dragged down into the cavern itself. And down on that stairwell, they found the remains and the skeletal parts of his grandfather's dog, which hints that the exact same thing happened to his grandfather, and the dog tried to save them, or tried to save him, rather, and then got trapped on the stairwell as he was trying to get back out. But that doesn't happen for Indy, thankfully, as Vera, the awesome sister that she is, comes to check on Todd and finds Indy in the basement, kind of almost in the same exact spot as their grandfather's dog had passed away at, and tells him to come on. But the subtle hint, if you pay attention at the end of this film, as Vera is yelling for Indy to run up the stairs, there's a slight whistle that only Indy can hear, and he almost runs toward it. I think he's, hinting that he wants to be with Todd and he wants to run toward death himself. So he's going to stay down there. But Vera gets him out, and that's where the movie ends. Now, I love a good indie film, and I love movies like this because it shows that even the little guys can make a giant impact on the film industry still. Just a small company with a few people and a few good actors and a really good actor and a pet that just went on to make so much success. This film has made over $5 million worldwide. Probably didn't cost too much to make it, and has won an award from PETA for the just a great treatment that the pup got during the 3 years, I think it was, that they were trying to shoot this. And overall, it's gone on to be a very standout horror film for this year. So suck on that, Spielberg, with your 25th Jurassic Park movie. Overall, I genuinely enjoyed this film, and I think you should definitely check it out. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 for my movies this year, and I highly recommend it. Definitely worth a watch. I'll probably end up watching it again because I really just delightfully like the dog character in the background of what was going on with him. Not so much about the story itself or the predictability of it, but I really love the way that it's shot because, like I said before, it's incredibly and beautifully shot just through the perspective and eyes of this small Nova Scotia retriever. And it's the little puppy's just so great, and he's fantastic. So yes, I will probably definitely watch this again. But that'll do it for this one for me, guys. I appreciate everything you guys do. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Check under your beds, and stay safe out there, everybody.